Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where we are currently ready to do this inclination change, and let's go ahead and do that. So that's going to put us in the inclination to make our way out to Luna here. That seems wonderful. I am, however, concerned about the thrust to weight of our lander. We know it's going to be on the low side, and I actually just ran a test of it to see exactly what that would be like, and it's definitely low, but also I don't know exactly what it is. And there's a reason for that. The reason is because the game doesn't know what it is either. So that's definitely concerning and confusing. So we might have to burn off a fair amount of fuel here. We have a lot of fuel in our lander, and that's absolutely fine. But we also have low thrust to weight. So that is something that will need to be dealt with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to throw away all of the fuel that is remaining here. That is going to be 600 meters per second. And you might be like, why are you doing that? The answer is because of thrust to weight. This is going to be low thrust to weight, and I want to burn some of the fuel up here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to ditch this right now. There we go. And let's get ourselves a little bit of distance. There we go. That should do the trick. And now we're going to start up a burn sometime around the periapsis here. And let's just push this right on up. Okay. So now you can see that the accuracy here is not recommended. And this is because of the burn time. The thrust to weight on this is extraordinarily low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this out to about... This is still not recommended. I would like to try to bring this in as much as we can. So let's just bring this right around to something like here. We can do a corrective burn once we get this completed. We'll see how good that ends up being. But we want to be specifically a little bit inefficient here because I want to get this burn done quickly, because if you look here, you can see 381 meters per second. You might be like, what is going on with that? The delta V is going up. It's showing us at 100 meters per second. The game is very confused by our fuel crossfeed here. So we're at 0.17 thrust to weight right now, and that is absolutely understood. We need to bring up that thrust to weight. So that means we need to burn fuel here. This engine is too weak, but I'm not going to revert this back. We will upgrade this engine after this mission, assuming we have additional landers that we need to do, which we definitely should have. But this engine is definitely struggling to get this completed. Now, this is going to be a pretty long burn. You can see 21.2 minutes, and we can only go to 2x speed while under warp. So it's going to be like 10.5 minutes until this burn is completed. So that is absolutely understood. And this is going to be about 1.04 kilometers per second. This is why I threw away 600 meters per second, because this thrust to weight is too low, but I don't want to revert this again. We already took a hit last time, and I don't want to take another hit this time. We're just going to deal with it. If we have to sit in Luna orbit and raise and lower our apoapsis and periapsis to get an appropriate amount of thrust to weight, we'll do that. We want it to be at least a thrust to weight of probably, I'm thinking 1.5 or 2, somewhere around there would be ideal. So we're going to need to burn a lot of fuel for that. Of course, this thrust to weight is over Drew, and we don't actually care about the Drew thrust to weight. It's the thrust to weight over Luna that matters. But we do have too much fuel in this for this engine. No, don't change that heading. Okay. Just lock to that planned burn. There you go. So we're just going to do that, and this burn is going to be a while longer, about another 9 minutes of real time. I'm not going to make you sit through that. We will be back once this burn is close to completed. See you guys in just a moment. Okay, so here we are most of the way through this burn. We're about 90% through, as you can see here. We've still got about 40 seconds of real-time burn time, but that's okay. We're also up to low accuracy instead of being not recommended, so that's interesting. And as far as our actual approach here, this is 311 kilometers. I'm planning on tuning that in, so that will be absolutely fine. So let's just accelerate on up here. And what are we at for thrust to weight at this point? So this is 0.41 thrust to weight over Drew. That is absolutely noted. Now keep in mind that that is based both on the drop of gravity from getting further away from Drew and on our craft's mass reducing. We've burned about 50% of the fuel from these side tanks. So that is absolutely fine. We are almost done with this burn. Let's drop out of warp to get it as accurate as we can. So 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and engine off. There we go. So this is the approach that it's giving us, and we're going to tune that in. So we're going to head up. I didn't mean to warp here. I meant to plan a burn, but that's okay. And we're going to do probably a little bit of prograde here. Yeah, that's definitely what needs to happen. That's about 32 kilometers away. Okay, let's go ahead and run that burn. That's going to be 16.8 meters per second. Yeah, go ahead and do it. So that's just going to do a small correction, bringing us into 32.7 kilometers. That's close enough. Okay. So with that burn commencing, we can see our thrust to weight is now up to 3.5 at this distance. That's understood, for sure. But it's going to drop as we approach up over here. So let's warp on in to the sphere of influence change. There we go. And now, of course, what we want to do is at the periapsis, I want to start a retrograde burn here. And we're going to bring that right on down to be roughly circularized. Something like this is probably fine. Yeah, we'll call that okay. So that looks wonderful, and we're just going to warp on forward to that. So we'll commence this burn, and we can see once this burn starts, we'll see what our thrust to weight is right now. 1.06, but that is going to go down as we approach the surface because the overall gravity as we get closer is going to be going up. So that is noted. That thrust to weight is still a little bit too low at this point. We'll see what it looks like after we finish up this burn. That's going to be a 4.6 minute burn, so we should see some thrust to weight increases on that. So that's excellent. Let's just get this braking burn commenced. And once this burn is completed, then, of course, we're going to start thinking about going in for a landing. I'm definitely concerned about our thrust to weight right now. I don't think that our thrust to weight is really going to be doing us any favors at this moment. So yeah, I think it's definitely clear that this engine is going to need an upgrade for future iterations of this so that we don't have quite this much waste. But for now, that's reasonably fine. So I'm wondering what the thrust to weight of this is going to be after these tanks are dry. They're at 46% right now, so we've still got lots and lots of delta V here. So that is absolutely understood. And we've got about 2.5 minutes left on this burn. So if we take a look at our current thrust to weight, it's 1.04, but we are approaching the Luna at this point. The Luna, apparently. Yeah, we're approaching Luna, and the gravity is going to go up a little bit. The question is, by how much? So we don't have, like, details here on what the gravity is going to end up being, right? So that is definitely noted. But it's going to be something. And the game is so confused about what we've got going on here, but we are absolutely pulling from these outer tanks right now, and you can see the stage delta V going up. So what we need right now is to get our thrust to weight up high enough that we can land, which it really isn't at this moment. So as we bring this in, we can start thinking about what that's going to look like. So I'd like to land, like, in this flat portion up over here, ideally. Let's exit out of warp here. We've got about 5 seconds left in this burn. Okay, so something about like that. The other thing that we could do, by the way, is we could add additional engines here. And that may not be the worst idea, like small assistance engines. We could definitely do that. With this being the main engine, and then these being like specifically landing engines or something. Yeah, that's a theoretical possibility. So if we were to go to about here as a hypothetical, and we were to bring this in, the accuracy here is currently high. So that would be 200 meters per second and a 2.2 burn time. I'm wondering what the time to impact here would end up being. But we know we'd need to shed about 700 meters per second, right? So this would be an interesting time to commence that burn, for sure. This is still high accuracy. What happens if we take this to minus 711? That's now low accuracy. Okay. Good to know. The question is, do we just go for it? We are currently, and keep in mind, we can also over throttle this engine. It will take damage from it, but we can over throttle this engine up to 120%. So that's noted. I don't want to do that. Let's warp to about here. And let's lock ourselves to a velocity of retrograde. And we can see this is where we are right now. I want to commence this burn basically now, if we're going to do this, right? So we can see we're overshooting this because of our poor gimbal attempting to bring us over here. It's having a rough go of it. But I'm going to commence this burn now. And we're just going to be locked retrograde here. Our thrust to weight is slightly over 1. So we need this velocity to be coming down quite a lot. No doubt about that. We don't really have any thrust to weight space here to be able to drop our to be able to drop our vertical velocity too much, or to be able to be too picky on where we land. It's not a delta V issue. It's a thrust to weight issue. But our thrust to weight is definitely coming up. It's 1.11 right now. And we are shaving off some of this speed, which is good. So we can see our vertical velocity is increasing. We are going down right now. I would not mind actually going a little bit vertical here and positioning ourselves about here. You can see that vertical speed is Wait, this is going the wrong way. Hang on. This thing turns really weird when we're under warp. Okay. I'd like to put it somewhere around here then, where you can see that our vertical speed is going down and our lateral speed is also going down. So we're going to sit about here for now, and we should probably extend our landing legs. Let's go ahead and do that. So our thrust to weight is currently 1.15, and these tanks are going to be dry soon enough. We have to keep them around for the landing, because that's where our landing legs are, but once we take back off, we're free to ditch them. And that's exactly what the plan is going to be once we get this landing completed, anyway. Okay, so you can see our vertical speed is currently holding at 36.4. So that means that we need to nose up a little bit here and have this be dropping. We need to be burning about here, because I want to have that vertical velocity be going down. So that is exactly what we're looking to do. The lateral speed is going to need to be dropped, but our thrust to weight is really, really rough here. We absolutely want that thrust to weight to come up a lot. The surface gravity that we expect is going to go up as we go down here. So that is absolutely a concern, and that's why I'm trying to keep our vertical speed quite low at this time. Our lateral speed is a concern, to be sure. We may end up overshooting this flat portion, and that would not be ideal. But if we put in some landing assistance engines on these stages, I think we would be fine on this front. So that is definitely something to think about doing on future missions. We're down below 400 meters per second laterally, and we're holding at 30 meters per second vertically. Okay, our thrust to weight is increasing. I'm going to continue to burn here as we're holding the vertical speed. And our surface speed, we can see, is down to about 375 meters per second. It's not too bad. We definitely need to drop this, and our thrust to weight is not where we want to be. We can see that our vertical speed is increasing at this point, so we're going to have to counteract that a little bit. Let's position ourselves here, and our vertical speed is currently going down. Keep in mind, as we burn fuel here, our thrust to weight is increasing, but it's decreasing as the surface gravity goes up as we get closer to the body here. So overall, our thrust to weight is currently increasing, 1.23, meaning that this is a theoretically viable landing. Theoretically. But I'm not sure, like, if we can actually pull it off here. 1.24 at this moment. Okay. So our vertical speed is holding at 30 at this time. And we're still dropping that lateral speed. Vertical speed is going up again. I do not want it going up. I want it going down. So 1.25 thrust to weight. I would like that to be a fair amount higher. That's for sure. I'd like it to be at least 1.5. We still have that surface velocity going down nicely. But we do not want to be building up vertical speed at this time. That's for sure. The lateral speed coming down is of vital importance, for sure. But that vertical speed, it's still decreasing here. We're burning half and half. So right now, we're reducing our vertical and lateral speed by about the same amount. That's going to change soon, unfortunately. But our vertical speed is still decreasing right now. So for now, I'm okay with this. But we still have more lateral speed than I want to have at this time. One thing we maybe should have considered is going up higher and dropping straight down. That maybe would have been a bit better given our current thrust to weight. How are we doing on our fuel in these side tanks? 24%? Okay. That seems fine. We're up to 1.3 thrust to weight now, so that's definitely an improvement. No doubt about that. Our vertical speed is starting to increase at this time, so we're going to have to put a little bit more effort into dealing with that vertical speed, and a little less effort into cutting our lateral speed. The lateral speed is going to become an issue, eventually. But the 1.32 thrust to weight ratio means that this is a delicate balancing act. I want to check our trajectory. Okay, our trajectory looks good. I'm not too concerned about that. So burning here seems relatively fine for the moment. We are not doing this efficiently, but that's because our thrust to weight is all sorts of whack right now. If we were to put some landing assist thrusters here, I do think that this would be a significant improvement. And we wouldn't have to throw away that 600 meters per second at the beginning too. So that would definitely be nice. I see our vertical velocity is still going down right now, and our lateral velocity is approaching the vertical velocity. We're down to 90 meters per second laterally, so this is looking good thus far. This is looking quite good. Vertical velocity is still decreasing. We may be able, at this point, to lock retrograde. I still want to be here, though, because our vertical speed is going to go up fairly quickly, 1.49 meters per second. Our thrust to weight is only 1.4. So I'm going to continue to hold here for the time being, although we should probably position it about here. There we go. And we can see that vertical velocity is quite low at this point. So, right now, I think it's probably safe to lock retrograde. I'm going to wait until we're under 10 meters per second vertically. Now I'm going to lock surface retrograde. We're at 17 meters per second, and we're still 15 kilometers up. So I'm going to let this coast a little bit, and I'm thinking about putting us at, what are we going to need to be at? So probably for now, somewhere around here. 1.12 at 79% thrust. Okay. So I'm just watching this lateral velocity drop right now. It's down to about 1.5, 1.2, 1 meter per second. Okay. So that seems okay. We're still 14 kilometers up. We should probably enter some sort of a coast here. So I'm going to do exactly that. We're going to enter a coast period. I'm going to let the vertical velocity go up to about, I'm thinking, 50 meters per second, and then we will see what a deceleration feels like. So 1.5 meters per second is our current speed there, or our current acceleration. So this is 50 meters per second. Let's see what killing that feels like. That's pretty slow. Okay, so I think 50 meters per second we're not going to go to again, probably. Well, overall burn time to get rid of that at 0.7 meters per second would be like a fair amount. It'd be like a minute-ish. A little over a minute, like a minute and a half. I wish I knew how long till impact. So we're currently at about 25 meters per second, and we're a little too high up, so I'm going to let this drop. I think I'm going to let it go up a little higher than I did before. Let's take it to maybe about 75 meters per second, and then we'll start cutting the speed. We're just a little high up right now. But we're in a good trajectory here. I'm pretty pleased with this right now. So that's 60 meters per second. And if we take a look at this, I really wish I could see when that impact was going to be. Unfortunately, I just can't. So that's 75 meters per second right there, and we are going to commence a burn to slow that down. We're at 10 kilometers up right now, so we don't want to take this too far down. I'm just feeling out where we want to be. How much fuel do we have in these side tanks? 15? Okay. Good to know. So we're almost at 1.5 thrust to weight now. I'm very glad I threw away that 600 meters per second at the beginning. This would be much spicier without that. However, in the future, we'll compensate for that with more powerful landing engine. That's okay. So we're down to about 45 meters per second, and we are about 7 kilometers up. So I'm going to go for 75 as the current target speed, 74, 73, 72, 71, 70. Okay, so we should commence this burn about now. We're a little too fast for our altitude at this time. Okay, so 62, 61 is now our target speed. Now 58. So we're a little too fast still. Let's decelerate this down a fair amount. We're about 5 meters or 5 kilometers up here. We're now at our target speed for this altitude. And we're now below it. So we're definitely good on the thrust to weight. Let's drop this down to about 40 meters per second, and then we'll enter another coast. This is not an efficient way to do this landing at all. That's for sure. So let's just let that drop for a bit. Target speed is 43. So I'm going to start this burn again at 50. Okay. So now we're about 4 kilometers up with a target speed of about 40 meters per second. There we go. We're going to let this drop down a little further. We're 3.5. So let's definitely be decelerating right now. 35 meters per second is the current target speed. Okay, so we're at 40 meters per second right now, and 2.7 kilometers up. We need to drop this down to about 25 meters per second. By the time we get there, it might be closer to 20. Yeah. So we are currently at about 20 meters per second. I'm dropping our throttle here to be slightly over. Let's see what it feels like at about 1.1. So we're just slowly slowing down here. We're probably going to need to throttle up a little bit, but we've got some throttle slop here. So I'm quite pleased with this right now. Yeah, we'll need to slow down a little more. Let's increase our thrust to weight to like 1.14. Okay, we're still 1.5 kilometers up right now. And we're moving at about the right speed. I'm going to drop our throttle down to 1.1 again. Feels like we're slightly overburning this. Yeah, we're slightly overburning it. So I'm going to put this at about 1.05. And we're just looking to very gently decelerate here. Maybe even less than this. 1.03. We're still a kilometer up right now. We're moving at approximately the exact target speed right now. Yeah, this is about right. So 1.04 seems reasonably fine for the moment. We're moving slightly faster than our target speed right now. That's okay. At this speed, I'm quite comfortable. So this looks okay. Again, we're moving slightly faster than our target speed, which is good. I like it. So we're at 750 meters now. And just very gently decelerating. If we add more thrust to weight, I would coast this a bit. I don't think I want to, though. We can see our shadow there. 600 meters up now. And it looks like our thrust to weight is increasing a little too much. I'm dropping it down to 1.03. It's now up to 1.04, so that seems fine. We're going a little slower than our target. I'm going to drop our throttle again to 1.01. I suspect we're going slowly enough now that a landing would be safe. Keeping that thrust to weight tuned down a little bit. Okay. So we're still 400 meters up here. It feels like we're really, really high up for our current speed. I'm going to let us increase a little bit in the speed, up to around 5 meters per second. Okay, there we go. So now I'm throttling us back up and putting that thrust to weight at 1.05 and letting this decelerate us a little. Cool. So we're about 300 meters up now, letting this continue to drop. And I'm going to put us back down at 1.01 for the thrust to weight. And I'm going to fast forward us a bit here. Okay, 1.02, bringing it back down to 1.01. There we go. Okay. So we're moving at about 3 meters per second right now, and I would like to let that increase a little bit. We're still 100 meters up. So I'm going to let that come up to about 5 again. Cool. So now we're going to put this at about 1.1 here. We're about 50 meters up right now. Cool. This is looking good. So let's put this at 1.1 for the thrust to weight. We're at about 2 meters per second, 1 meter per second, and just continuing to let this drop very gently here. Just throttling it to be at basically exactly 1.0 meters per second, or rather 1.0 thrust to weight. And we are touchdown. Okay, now we need to hold for 30 seconds. Cool. And apparently that was not 30 seconds, but apparently that counted. So we're going to end... No, we're not going to end this flight, actually. We're going to bring this back, because we did this crude. So we're going to head back to Drew, but that is a job for next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members. That's not the button I'm looking for. to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.